Breaking news! Lamar Jackson is back. But before you breathe that full sigh of relief, there's something deeper to consider here. Ravens fans, the situation surrounding our franchise quarterback might not be as simple as a "he's practicing again" headline. We've got a storm brewing behind the scenes, and it's time we unpack the real concerns about Lamar's health, his protection, or lack thereof, and what this means for our playoff push. But before we move on, make sure you hit that like button if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you feel like it, comment, "Go Ravens," down below to show you're riding with us no matter what. Let's get straight into it. Lamar Jackson returned to practice this week after sitting out the day before, sparking anxiety throughout the entire Ravens flock. And it wasn't just that one absence. In fact, this was the third different injury Lamar's dealt with this season: hamstring, knee, and now ankle. Let that sink in. 3 different injuries, all within the span of a single season. If that doesn't raise red flags, I don't know what will. In week 4, he was sidelined with a hamstring injury, missing time until week 8. Then, in week 11, he missed a Wednesday practice with a knee issue. And now, heading into another crucial game, it's the ankle. These aren't just knocks you shake off. These are injuries that impact mobility, explosiveness, and decision-making, all elements that make Lamar one of the most electric quarterbacks in the NFL. He's tough, no doubt. He's smart. He knows when to slide, when to escape. But you can't evade hits you don't see coming. And that's been happening way too often this year. Why? One reason: the offensive line. The protection up front has fallen apart this season. The numbers back it up. Lamar is getting hit more than ever before in his career. He's being sacked nearly 2 times more per game than last year. His pressure rate has spiked by 9%, leaping from 32% in 2024 to 41% in 2025. That's not a small jump, that's a trench collapse. And it's not just about total hits, it's about when and how those hits come. Blindside pressure, inside stunts, guards that shouldn't even be on a pro roster letting defenders blow right through. Last season, Lamar had the 4th best pressure-to-sack ratio in the league, meaning when pressure came, he could still escape or make something happen. This year, he's dropped to 31st. That's a free fall. Now, 30% of the time he's pressured, it turns into a sack. That's a brutal stat, especially for a player whose game depends on mobility and improvisation. And here's the harsh truth: he's not at full strength. The hamstring? That lingers. The knee? Still vulnerable. The ankle? It's fresh. That trinity of injuries limits his mobility, whether we want to admit it or not. And yet, he's still expected to carry this team, with a battered O-line and a brutal upcoming schedule. It's admirable, sure. But at what cost? Now, let's not act like it's all doom and gloom. Lamar wasn't the only one back at practice. Key names returned: Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Isaiah Likely. That's huge. Getting back 5 of the 8 players from last week's injury report could be the boost this team desperately needs heading into Sunday's matchup against the New York Jets. But let's not forget, just 2 weeks ago, we had 0 names on the injury report. That feels like a lifetime ago. And looking ahead, things aren't slowing down. The Bengals are on the horizon. Joe Burrow is back taking snaps. Remember when we thought we'd miss him this season due to that wrist injury from September? That timeline's been accelerated. The reports are crystal clear. Burrow is gearing up to play against the Patriots, which means he'll almost certainly suit up for that massive Thanksgiving night clash against the Ravens. That changes everything. Burrow healthy changes the complexion of the AFC North race. The Bengals are still trailing, sure, but they're dangerous with Burrow at the helm. And for Baltimore, that makes every win between now and then even more critical. This week's game against the Jets is not just another W to chase. It's a must-win for momentum, confidence, and standings. Let's pick it right back up. Because here's the thing, when it comes to Lamar Jackson and this offense, it's not just about injuries or sack numbers. It's about what this means long-term. This Ravens team, right now, is walking a tightrope. You've got a quarterback who is not only your franchise cornerstone, but the engine behind every explosive play, every scoring drive, every ounce of hope this fan base has going into January. And yet, the Ravens are walking that line without a net. How long can Lamar keep taking these hits? How long can he scramble his way out of collapsing pockets before one hit becomes one too many? And this isn't just speculation. This is the reality of a quarterback under siege. When your offensive line is letting pressure through at a 41% rate, nearly half the snaps, that's not just bad, it's unacceptable. These aren't growing pains. These are structural flaws. The guards, in particular, have been a glaring weakness. It's gotten to the point where you could argue that at least one of them shouldn't even be on an NFL roster. That's how bad it's gotten. And with Ronnie Stanley now finally back at practice, you hope that brings some stability to the left side. But one tackle can't fix an entire line that's crumbling from the inside. And this situation puts everyone in a bind. You want to run the ball more to protect Lamar? That's tough when your line can't hold the point of attack. You want to get the ball out quickly? That's fine. But it limits Lamar's ability to create deep plays with his arm and legs, which is part of what makes him elite. You want to rest him? Sure, but you're in the thick of a division race. Every game matters. There's no luxury of load management in the AFC North, and the coaching staff has to wear some of this too. John Harbaugh and the offensive coordinators need to recognize the reality of their quarterback's condition. Are they adjusting the game plan accordingly? Are they doing enough to protect Lamar, not just from the defense, but from himself? Because we know Lamar is a warrior. He'll go out there on one leg if he has to. But should he have to? That's the real question here. Then you look at what's coming. Thursday night football, Thanksgiving, primetime, all eyes on Ravens versus Bengals. That's the showdown. And just a few weeks ago, you were thinking maybe you dodged Joe Burrow. Maybe you get a break. Not anymore. He's back on the practice field, and the Bengals are preparing as if he's going to be under center. If they're doing that now, you can bet he's playing against Baltimore. That's a game that could define the trajectory of the Ravens season. Win it, and you might build a gap in the division, ride that momentum into December, maybe get healthier along the way. Lose it, and you're right back in the meat grinder, fighting for wild card positioning while your QB limps through the pain. Let's expand even further, because this story isn't finished, not even close. The pressure on Lamar Jackson right now isn't just physical, it's systemic. And when we talk about this offensive line, we're not just talking about performance failures. We're talking about a front office that gambled, and may have lost, on patching holes instead of solidifying this unit. You look at the offseason decisions, the roster construction, there wasn't enough investment in depth, especially on the interior. And now, as we hit the most crucial stretch of the season, it's unraveling. There's also something bigger looming, Lamar's contract. This is the first year of his mega deal, and the narrative, fair or not, is going to be shaped by what happens down the stretch. If he gets hurt again, if the Ravens miss the playoffs or flame out early, people will ask tough questions. Was the team too reliant on one player? Did the Ravens do enough to protect their biggest investment? And perhaps most painfully, are they wasting his prime? But let's not lose sight of Lamar himself in all this. He's still competing, still showing up to practice, still finding ways to win games, even while not being 100%. That tells you everything about who he is. He's not just a quarterback, he's a leader. And leaders show up even when their bodies don't cooperate. That kind of mental toughness is what's keeping this team afloat right now. Because if Lamar ever truly goes down, if he can't finish this season, there's no safety net, no plan B. This team is built around him offensively and emotionally, which is why every hit, every limp, every moment he's slow to get up sends shockwaves through the entire fan base. We've seen what this team looks like without Lamar. It's not pretty, and that's why the next few weeks are so critical. The Ravens need to fix this protection problem immediately. Scheme around it, adjust personnel, do whatever it takes, because this isn't about one game anymore. It's about survival. It's about getting Lamar Jackson to January in one piece. So I'll ask again, what's your concern level, Ravens fans? Do you believe this team is doing enough to keep Lamar safe? Or are we watching a slow breakdown that nobody wants to admit is already happening? Let me know in the comments.